Welcome to the Service Design Marathon. This is our already regular meeting. And Service Design Marathon is the non-profit event. We are aiming to spread the word about service design across the globe. On my back, you see the camera of the countries from which we have participants on the marathon, either those who stay online with us or those who watch the recording afterwards. Service Design Marathon is organized by the Service Design Network, by Ukrainian chapter of the Service Design Network. And tonight we have two guests. It's Joran. He is a product manager from Mycronic. He is the client of Valeria, and Valeria Ossio, she is a strategic service designer, and also she is a working mother of a beautiful daughter. Kyra is 4 months today, so she is presenting with her daughter, and I think this is wonderful. And today we have a very special case about using service design in the manufacturing, in the large B2B manufacturing actually. And I should probably stop talking at this point and give the floor to Valeria and Joran. You are welcome. Please share the slides. Could you please tell a little bit about yourself and then tell us a great story of your case? Valeria, just in case you're on mute.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you, Oleg, for having us. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to share with the whole community the work that we've been doing with Joran and with the whole team of Mycronic. So briefly about myself, I'm a service designer. I've been working for Mandalah in the last 6 years. Yes?
But just in case you're not sharing the slides yet, just if you
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, I've been working for Mycronic, for Mandalah the last 6 years. So I'm gonna briefly talk to you about Mandalah, the background of the company, the client Mycronic, a little bit about the organization, and then why we started working together and the background of the project. So Mandalah is a global purpose-driven innovation organization. So we like to talk about ourselves as partners, since we see our clients on the same level. We like to collaborate with them as opposed to give them solutions about what the next innovation steps they should be doing. So yeah, in terms of collaboration and the co-creation. So we do believe in a shared values, meaning that everyone should have a profit out of that. So meaning the people, planet, and the business itself. We are based in these different places. Mandalah was founded in 2006 in Sao Paulo, and the Berlin office exists since 2014. So each of the offices have, due to the market and everything, they have like a different focus. And the focus that we have in the Berlin office, the European one, is on the one hand the creation, identification of a purpose, and its activation, innovation culture, and the product and service development. So in the case of the collaboration while working with Mycronic, we did both. We worked on the innovation culture as well as the product and service creation. So Mycronic is a B2B company. They built machines for circuit boards. So and these boards can be introduced for a display or a satellite or yeah, medical devices, just for naming a few. Of course, also our cell phones and so on. So they do not create only the one machine, the pick and place machine, which is called, but they work on the whole line of machines that are needed in order to create the sports. So the headquarters is in Sweden, but it's a global company. And we could say like competitors of Mycronic would be Fuji or Panasonic. So the segment that Mycronic has been traditionally tackling has been the low volume and high mix. This is how you call it. So companies that would be working on products that, for instance, are creating prototypes of stuff, and therefore they need to change materials constantly of the different components of this boards. And therefore the handling of the materials is a very important aspect. That's why Mycronic is amongst the most flexible machines in this category. So if we're talking about the market landscape of the industry, we could say that every time the products that are being developed, they are moving on a very fast pace. In this, PCB boards are becoming every time smaller and smaller, and the boards are becoming every time much more complex. So meaning that the machines have to deal with a lot of stress. They have to, the machines have to give their best. And so this is one of the challenges that the industry on the one hand is coping with today. And also due to a lack of materials very often, so the companies, they are missing one kind of material, and therefore they're not able to produce one order that they have. They need to change to another order because they are missing this material. So the challenge of having a high mix environment every time is also a very, very important aspect. And of course, Industry 4.0 is a trend that is bringing a lot of opportunities to differentiate themselves and give a willingness of customers to invest in new solutions. So whenever Mandalah is working on a project with their clients, we do like to have a long-lasting effect into the organization, and it wasn't different while working with Mycronic. So meaning we wanted to integrate customer centricity into the company, and this while doing the training aspect. Training, we trained around 30 people on a very international and cross-disciplinary group. And we applied what the people have trained plus our professional work while working on 2 specific projects with Mycronic. So on the one hand, we would be doing the training, and the projects that we were working on the one hand was the definition of a product for entering into a new market segment. So meaning Mycronic didn't want to stay with the low volume, but get to know, let's say, for instance, the mid-volume segment, and yeah, produce new solutions for them. And the second solution would be an analysis tool to improve the monitoring and the connectivity issues whilst using the stored data that the machines have. So we had our first kickoff meeting in February in 2019. On on the one hand, it was very important to have this meeting. We had people flying in from very different places. And it was important because we had to get everyone on board to make them understand what is actually the goal of the project, how we're going to be working on it, and how is the methodology that we're going to be using. And of course, we ran the first training session, which was the empathy training part. And we co-created the first part for the two projects, so meaning the research phase. Other than while working in the B2C sector, working in the B2B, you are not an expert of the subject that you're going to be working on. So in this case, we had to confront very difficult conversations with different stakeholders during these meetings because there was a lack of trust in them that a group of service designers would be able to support them with such an engineering and very complex topic while using the methodology that we were supposed to work with. So yeah, it was the first time that I had this type of conversations, that they openly also told me that we have no clue about what we're doing there. So little by little, we had to earn the trust. So of course, we told them that we're going to be co-creating this together, and that we are not aiming to become the experts of the topic, but we're going to support them also as an outstanding person from the industry, and asking very different type of questions to them, and co-create all the different phases of the project together with them. So we defined the customers, and we created personas for them. For instance, we decided, okay, we're going to be working and talking to operators, with engineers, with line managers, and so on. And then we created the interview guides and the mock-up interviews. What are the type of questions that we want to ask them? And of course, we created this team spirit to make them see that actually having fun is something very important while being creative and while collaborating and working as a team. So it was important to become a little bit more relaxed and don't take ourselves so serious, and all these different types of activities and warm-ups and so on were very, very important to, let's say, make the ambient a little bit more relaxed. So during the research phase, we did different type of things. On the one hand, we did the qualitative research, where we did interviews. The people holding the interview would be two Mandalah people and a Mycronic expert. It was, in this case, a salesperson. So we would have like the subject matter, this knowledge of about Mycronic and the product itself. And on the other hand, let's say, we as experts in doing interviews and wanting to understand the whole system and process, as opposed to only the interaction with the machine. So meaning we wanted to understand what are the workarounds that people like the factories and within the lines, they would have in order to deal with different problems that the machines are not providing a solution for. And during the kickoff workshop, we decided this we're going to be interviewing this mid-volume segment on the one hand, but also existing customers, those that would be more sophisticated and would be working with a software system that, yeah, is a little bit more advanced than other customers. So, and of course, we did also, whenever it was possible, we did also observational work to see how things work within the factory. But before going into the field, we wanted to gather the Mycronic perspective. And for that, we did interviews with salespeople, services, and R&D employees to really understand what is the knowledge base that is sitting already within Mycronic. And we did also a quantitative research. So we did a survey where we also had quantitative questions to understand what overall the Mycronic people on a global level would perceive about the innovation level of the company. What would be their strengths and the weaknesses within Mycronic. So it got decided that we're gonna be doing the research in these 3 different markets. On the one hand, so this would be like the reason for choosing these markets is because those are the biggest markets for the company, the USA, China, and Europe. And overall, we did 20 interviews with process engineers, operational managers, D&R managers, engineers, and so on. So it was a very diverse group of people that we talked to. In terms of the, let's say, on the project and how it got developed, this part, I suppose that is something very normal. The recruitment part is one of the most complicated parts while doing the research. And in this case, our client, yeah, they didn't want to do give any kind of incentive, but actually ask companies to participate in the interviews on a voluntary basis. So this was a little bit complicated because Mycronic, so the salespeople who were supposed, the ones who are doing the whole recruitment, they didn't know many of the people that we were going to talk to. So this whole research process got a little bit difficult, and it was, yeah, not an easy task to get those companies. But at the end, we managed. So we had to do also online interviews as opposed to visiting all the factories. But at the end, we had good insights, which we divided into 7 opportunity spaces. And the ones that I'm going to be sharing with you just very briefly are the ones that are more relevant to the solution that Mycronic end up producing. So on the one hand, we've got the labor utilization and the more flexible testing aspect. So in terms of the more flexible testing insight, or let's say opportunity space, the situation would be that managing the quality and error events is a very critical thing throughout the whole process, the whole phases. So on the planning, designing, and developing. And this monitoring takes a lot of time. So a couple of quotes would be, because I'm stressing my machine, my error rates are going up. And so I need better and more flexible testing to catch these error events. And on the other hand, we have, so when you have an error, there's no systemic way for us to tie data to that future so as to not repeat it again. So they would like to have, would like to be able to see a notification that comes up and says, last time you did that, this thing occurred, and this problem you had it, you experienced. So the missed error is really killing the margin and eventually would kill the business. And eventually they would also, yeah, lose customers because of a slower delivery time. And the labor utilization aspect would be that engineers and operational operators' attention is being diverted into the wrong things. So on the one hand, they would like to hire lower skilled and lower salaried operators instead of higher skilled and higher paid technicians. And on the other hand, you would have the topic about operators having to deal with very, very complex processes, things that years ago they wouldn't have to do. So they say that nowadays an operator has to really be thinking about what they are doing, and they are not getting the salary that they would like to. So nobody wants to work for $15 an hour. So this complex situation means that it's very costly to misuse on the one hand, the high value engineers. And for instance, in the European market, there is a lack of qualified lower paid technicians. So now it would be the moment where we would like to gather some questions, if you have already some of them at this point. Is that right, Oleg? You're on mute?
Yeah, it's my turn to be on mute. Thank you. Yes, please, I encourage everybody to ask the questions. I propose to put them into chat and I'll pick them. If you want to ask the question in Russian, just type it in Russian. I can read both. And I have a couple of questions from myself, because one thing you mentioned at the beginning is that it was difficult to get trust from the people in the B2B environment where you are not a domain expert. Actually, I am going to have the same project. We are, as an agency, we are going to have such a challenge in just 2 weeks. So I wanted to know what helped you to get trust from Joran and his team.
I would say that, well, I didn't have any problems with Joran, luckily, and the team within Sweden. But for instance, the stakeholders coming from the US, there wasn't so much conversation going on as with the team in Sweden, and that's why they weren't sure what we were doing. What really helped was actually, having them all the time involved in the process. So this training aspect was really good, because we said, like, we're gonna be doing the interviews, but you tell me what you would like to ask these people. So the question that you are creating, I'm gonna ask it for you. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna put it, what type of words I'm gonna be using, but tell me what you wanna know and I'll ask for you. So giving them the feeling that they are involved in the process and they are part of that, as opposed that we are going to provide you the solution and the answer to your innovation endeavor, let's say.
Super, thank you. There is a question from Max, and he's asking who held the interviews. Am I right? Because I thought you told that it was like a pair of Mandalah and a person from the Mycronic, or did I get it wrong?
That's right. No, that's right. So since we are a global Mandalah team, we were able to have people in the US Mandalah team that would be doing the interviews there. Mm-hmm. Two guys there, and then we also had in China other Mandalah people who would always be working together with a salesperson from Mycronic. Does this answer your question? The question?
Yes, I believe this is the answer. And one more question before we move on is, did you have to do, I believe you, Mandalah, would have to do some initial personal research on the topic on top of what colleagues told you in the interviews, or it was sufficient?
No. That's a very good question and a very important point as well. Thanks for bringing this up. It was important to do also some research, desk research from our side. So we got a lot of information from Mycronic, a lot of things to read, but that was also the reason why we did all these interviews, internal interviews with Mycronic, and we watched a lot of videos, and we just researched a lot what we were finding online. about the product and the different challenges that this industry is experiencing.
Super. Thank you very much. I believe we can continue and have more questions to the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, great. So after we did all this research part, this was around like we did the kickoff presentation and kickoff workshop in February time. And in mid-April, we would gather again in Sweden, and all the cross-disciplinary and international team would gather again in Täby near Stockholm for having a 4 days workshop. So again, we did this in parallel. On the one hand, we would always start with the training part, and then we would move on with the specific and relevant part for the project development. So as you can see below, we would have 1 day for doing the analysis of the insights, the second day for doing the ideation. On the third day, we did the whole prototyping, and the fourth day, it was all about testing and iterating the idea. In terms of the participants, it was very important to have the right team. So on the one hand, we had like 22 international Mycronic people. We had 5 different teams who would be working on 2 different opportunity spaces. And we had 2 illustrators and 2 interface designers who would be supporting during the with the storyboarding and prototyping part. And then we had 5 Mycronic testers who weren't involved in the project at all. So this would be like people coming from outside, but experts in the matter, let's say. So they were like the testers for our test, because afterwards, with the prototypes, we went back to the markets and the people that we had interviewed before to test those solutions and see what feedback they would give us. So very briefly, I'm gonna go through the different days and talk a little bit about the methodology that we've been working on. So again, we first did the training, which would be a presentation, and then the exercises would be the real project that we were working on. So on the first day, we presented all the opportunity areas. We would do it in a kind of carousel, and then people would also enrich this knowledge with their experience and their knowledge. So this would be like, yeah, also a very, very important part of the workshop. And then we created personas and customer journeys, in order to save some time. But during the workshop, the team members, they complemented those personas and the customer journeys. And then we had like dilemmas discussion. So in terms of, yeah, we want to have, for instance, just for giving you an example, the future of factories are actually these black factories where they're not going to have workers anymore. But on the other hand, you need to have the operators and technicians. So how do we deal with this process in between? What is the role of Mycronic, for instance, in the time in between, let's say? So the next day we did the ideation part with the training, and then we do like to give inspirational cards to our team members, to the participants, that we do ourselves. So we see what are the relevant areas. We brought them also cases from the B2C sector so that they really think out of the box. And we also like working with this, what would X do? Let's say if you are an astronaut, how would you solve this problem? So that they are really thinking, trying to think a little bit different as opposed to how they would do. And yeah, also a technique, a method that we like using is this cross-pollination carousel, where the teams would switch and they would also create ideas for the areas of the other teams. So there's also like, they see what the others are doing on the one hand, and on the other hand, their knowledge and their ideas are also, their fresh ideas and knowledge are also very valuable. So then the prototyping, where we, we created this storyboards and an illustration to explain how the idea actually works. And then we worked with interface designers who would really create a clickable dummy that we afterwards use on the day 4. So it was a very intense time, but it was very valuable to do it in this way. And really, although it was a lot of people, of course, a big investment, but it was very important to have all these different talents and people working, skills gathered. And in this case, I'm talking about the interface designers and the illustrators, for instance, who really helped to bring alive the concepts much quicker and independent from the facilitators, whose job is actually doing something very different at that moment. So yeah, we're coming to the very exciting part of the presentation, where we're going to be, so these are the design questions that the team answered. So how might we establish a notification process for the engineering before a defect occurs? How might we automate the system to improve the output without the need of a person? And how might we make customers happy with the performance level they are able to achieve? So now I would like to hand over to Göran, who's going to be presenting the solution. Göran?
Yes, thank you very much, Valeria and Oleg. Thank you for having me. So very short, I'm Göran Frank. I've been with Mycronic for 10 years in different product management roles. And from now on, I will share my learnings with starting point here of the prototype that we made together with Mandalah. Just to recap what we do at Mycronic, we build, Valeria described this, but I will illustrate it one more time. We build the machines, the production machines that customers use to produce the electronics. So my customer is building a PCB, the green circuit board with components on it that ends up in consumer products and in other industrial applications. And what we see here on the screen is a sketch in the middle from the prototype workshop. And on the right-hand side, we see the click dummy that was made in collaboration with the UX designers. So if we take the next slide, please. And what we see on this picture is the vision of this prototype. So if we start to look in the centrum here, this product is a dashboard, a quality control dashboard to look at the data in production, to be able to see what is going on in production and how could we improve it. We could also look to the top left part here. Here we have the users, the different persons that we interviewed, and the user of this analytics dashboard. So here we have both the operators and the process engineers. They're a little bit more skilled people that could work on optimizing the production. If we look to the bottom left part, you see the yellow circle when it says now. That's describing the current situation at many of our customers, having a problem which they not really can understand because they don't really, they don't see the data and they can't make any conclusions out of the data that they have. And in the concept and in the right hand corner, you see in the bubble in 5 years. That's describing the vision of this product and prototype, where you see the same operator that before was very stressed, having a gear in his hand to be able to adjust. Now he's sitting in a more relaxed position here, having better control of the production process and the data, taking the correct actions to be able to improve the production status. Yes, thank you. So we are super happy at Mycronic since the collaboration here with the Mandalah team and all the steps that we have gone through here. Both the training on design thinking for us has been very valuable, but we actually has put this product now, this analytics products out on the market. And right now I have about 100 systems, I would say, being monitored by this type of tool. We made the release summertime last year. We have very quick iterations for our industry, I would say. We are now in a pace of making 4 releases of this software per year. So we managed together with Mandalah from the prototype, having quick iterations with the customers, and also putting the product, an MVP, minimal viable product, on the market early, and has been managed to continue the pace to make iterations and quick releases over the year in a very satisfying way. And this product has super potential. It's not only we could sell this product to many of our existing installed base. So right now I'm monitoring 100 systems. I could monitor up to 3,000 systems, but this also gives us at Mycronic a possibility to position ourselves as a more value-adding partner, where when I could look at data, present for the customer what is going on in production and how could it be improved, which is really a good positioning for us. We could take the next, please, Valeria. And this is a screenshot from the product itself. So it's aligning a lot to the early prototype, which we saw in some slides ago. And this is now how it looks like, and a deep dive into the tool, I would say, which our customers could use to improve the quality. And for us, of course, looking back to the journey, it's very nice to see the steps that we've been taking here and that we'll continue to take. Okay, next slide, please, Valeria. And customer feedback has been very good, very great, I would say. Many customers really appreciate. Some customer maybe doesn't understand from the beginning the value of this type of product, where we could look to the data and see how to improve. But my learnings from now speaking with many customers are, as soon as they started to use this type of product, they all feel that this is a super good thing, and it's really something that they can't live without going forward. And it's in that way bringing a lot of innovation for us at Mycronic, but also to our customer to be able to improve going forward. Yes, next slide. Yeah, and for us at Mycronic, it's also a super good tool. We are the manufacturing of production equipment. I would say it's an old-fashioned industry. We have been hardware-based, based on mechanics, picking up the components, placing them on PCBs. We at Mycronic, we are now moving towards more software solutions and services together with these hardware products. And by having this type of product, which were identified in design thinking work together with Mandalah, we have the possibility now to offer a larger value package for our customer to really address their needs. And what I think we did especially good here was that we really managed to identify the different user groups at the customer, both the operator, production engineer, but also in a very good way, the owners or the managers of the company. And we're able to transform these key categories at the customer and see, really understanding what would be the value for them and how could we address that with an offering. And that we have done very successful with this product. Yes, Valeria. So, yeah. Should I just mention it? So learnings from my side, the importance of understanding different internal processes and dependencies. And of course, I mean, the understanding of it's not only product, it's about all the different aspects, both at the customer and the internal Mycronic that we need to put in place to make something happen, and all the collaboration around this. So I mean, the cross-functional work and the effort that we did, and also to understand the different stakeholders at the customer. That will be my one of the key takeaways for me.
Mm-hmm.
Valeria?
Great. Thank you, Göran. Yeah, so in terms of learnings, in terms of the project itself, yeah, I would say that it's very important to be very clear, since it's a very sensitive topic, and doing the research is something very complicated and people wouldn't know. It's very important to be clear about the dependencies in this term. So this is something that I would say to other service designers, at the beginning, at the starting of the project, to be very clear about the difficulties that might also happen on the way, right? So so that what are dependencies for making the project successful. And a strong collaboration is really needed. So meaning this understanding of working with this very, very interdisciplinary work and speaking these different languages is very important from a engineering point of view, but also we as service designers, how can we gather in somewhere in the middle, let's say, to make these things happen. And this is very especially important in the moment where you're creating the insights. Because having someone who does speak their language is very important, I would say. Yeah, and yeah, using the global knowledge within the workshop was very important. So to see what it would be the different learnings in the US. This was very valuable during the workshop, to see what the people in the sales people, for instance, were working for the first time with R&D people, and this collaborative teamwork was something that many of them didn't really experience before. So yeah, this is also an important learning. And to conclude and end up, I would say that, yeah, again, fail early, fail fast was something that was a really a big gain for the collaboration and for Mycronic at the end. So at the end, they were able to save resources and time and create a product that is looking into the whole system of a factory, as opposed to a machine or a line. It was the whole topic about the whole complexity of really dealing with a factory. So this is something very valuable, and I think that as service designers, we are really able to give this bird's eye view, let's say, to facilitate this process in giving this bird's eye view to our clients. Again, yeah, I mentioned already this topic about interdisciplinary work. And I think while talking with Göran, he was mentioning that until now he's working with the insights that we provided him, this opportunity spaces that he uses while creating new products and seeing, okay, this is what customers say about that. These are the type of issues that they have. So we can see that customer centricity and this goal of really making a long-lasting effect within Mycronic really worked. So we are really happy about the outcome of the project, and to know that yeah, that Mycronic is still working with a methodology. Probably not all the teams, but some of them. They are working with service design thinking methodology. So yeah, that's basically it. Now we are open for yeah, combination. Let me see if I'm checking. No, I talked and I didn't see. Yeah, and this topic again, this long-lasting thing was possible because we did the training, right? We didn't do only a project, but we did the training of yeah, doing the research, but also telling them why we are doing the things that we are doing. Yeah.
Super. Wow. Flying picture. Flying. Great. Göran, Valeria, thank you very much for, I mean, it was a great presentation. We have a couple of questions already. So Katalin, she says you achieved super results. I can only agree with her. And she's asking how long the service designer was looped in during developed and implementation phase. So how long did you stay with Mycronic at this stage?
So it was we started the first conversations in January, and we end up the project by the end of, let's say, beginning of May, while doing the different tests in the different markets, and yeah, giving the whole recommendations and everything until May, we would say. So around 5 months, more or less.
Well, I thought that, I mean, given the results, I thought it took longer. Thank you. Have these design solutions set Mycronics apart from its competitors? Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a question to Göran.
Yes, I really say it has. I mean, I have been presenting this product for many existing customers, but also to possible customer prospects that are using other type of production equipment from other vendors. And I really see that this is, we are really addressing the customer needs in a very, very good way here. So yes, this is definitely separating us from competition.
Wow, that's great to hear. And there is a comment. I also had it, so I'm glad somebody else also picked it. It is still quite unusual to have service designers design thinking in the manufacturing industry, in the very technology-driven industry. How this project happened? I mean, how did you met? I mean, like you, Mandalah and Mycronic, if you can speak about it, of course.
Yeah, I think we can. We met during, let's say it was a training about service design or design thinking here in Berlin, where we, let's say, we were the creatives for another consultancy. And yeah, I facilitated this workshop, and there was the management level, and they were really happy with the work and what we were doing. And they say, okay, we really need to train our people within Mycronic with this methodology. And yeah, he was very excited at that time. And so he contacted us then after the holidays, I would say, yeah, in January time.
Thank you. So this explains it. It started from the top.
Yeah.
Joran, thanks. How much time you it took to create this My Center interface, and if there were some iterations or you developed the existing product?
I would say that the product and the interface, I mean, it has been evolving over time. So actually what the early click dummy that I showed, that was in some way the first part of the product. And then we are constantly evolving and developing. And that is, I mean, the reason for, I think, the management level at Mycronic to initiate the cooperation with Mandalah was about really, I mean, increasing customer centricity and our capabilities of understanding what the customer needs. And that is something that we now try to, of course, we are not expert in design thinking, but I really think that we have picked up parts of this that we continue now to use in development. So it's still developing. That's the message.
Okay, I see. And you mentioned like you release like four instances a year, right? So you have like 3 months sprint. Okay, thank you. And there is an interesting question. If you still have some time, there were quite many people during the. I'll probably find one question for Joran first, and then I give word to Valeria. So my question would be, I believe this is not your first digital product, right? For Mycronic, this the one you developed. But could you somehow compare how was the designing of the digital product with and without the service design? If you can elaborate on that.
I would say what we.
Sorry, I'm going to put myself on mute, okay?
Sure.
But for this product, I would say that we, in a quite good way, we understood that Mycronic, we are not the experts in digital solutions. We need to collaborate with other industries, with other types of knowledge for us to be able to do something in a smart, efficient way. A more traditional, R&D project based on the waterfall development model, where you really write down the specification, all the different demands which you have in the beginning, and then you hand it over to R&D. That was something that we, really would like to do different and did different this time, where we constantly managed to adapt and change depending on the feedback from the customer.
Thank you. Makes perfect sense. I wanted to comment that you got this feedback from the customer, which is can't live without your product. Well, this is every product manager is aiming at. So, I mean, this is the greatest compliment you can get from the customer. I have probably one more question from Max, which is there were quite a lot of people on the workshop. Like you mentioned, like 30 people. It's a lot. How did you manage them, and did you challenge them with different tasks? How you keep them engaged with so many people?
Well, they were very busy all the time. On the one hand, they were doing the training, so there was like this very part where they had to be listening a lot. And then they were working on smaller teams. So they were in teams of 5 all the time. So this makes things much, much easier to work with and to facilitate and make it much more personal as opposed to working with 22 at the same time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. And what are your key learnings from work with engineers and technical staff? Are they different?
Well, of course they are going to think different than a service designer and someone working with another type of like this innovation processes overall, right? The learnings is this thing of, yeah, I have to say that it was very, very valuable to have an engineer within the Mandalah team as well. So it was one of our colleagues who is a very talented service designer and interviewer as well. So he was able to do like also this switch and read between the lines and know, okay, because this thing about gaining trust is one aspect that is, I would say, the most challenging parts while working in this industry, or I dare to say in the B2B sector. So you little by little you need to gain their trust while talking a little bit with their language as well.
I see.
Yeah.
So you cannot stay, you cannot be like a pure facilitator. You still need to get expertise in the domain during the project and before the project.
Well, what is like gaining, yes, you have to have like a basic understanding on the one hand, but it also helps if you have like one person that is part of the core team and understands and is someone who speaks a little bit their language, because it's about that, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I believe, yes,
yeah, but I also think it's, I mean, probably there are many companies like Mycronic, you know, a more maybe I would say old-fashioned industry type of company, but also most of us working at this type of companies understand that, you know, the world is changing, digitalization and data and, you know, AI, and we hear all these things. So, and if you try to appeal to that, to say, I mean, to survive, you would need to transform and to take new methods to innovate. Then I think you could, and you did that in a very good way, Valeria.
Thank you.
Super, Göran, thank you. I believe it's the best compliment Valeria can get for her work, so that you can be proud of this project. Well, I believe we need to return Valeria back to Cairo. I would highly appreciate Göran, Valeria, for your presentation. It's an interesting case. This is quite unusual application of service design, and it's great that you shared both the content, the learnings, and the process and the challenges we might face in the similar type of projects. So once again, thank you very much for the participation. Thank you everybody for attending, and thank you for the great questions. Well, we are going to continue on Thursday, and we are going to be talking to another challenging industry, which is railways. And we are going to talk about specifically very perfect Japanese railways and their challenges with the digitalization. So you're welcome, Göran, Valeria, you're welcome to take part and to watch the case. It's going to be an interesting one. And I believe that's it for tonight. It was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending, and see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Oleg, for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Göran. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.